How do I know if my prospect is actually going to buy from me? You could be working really hard on an opportunity, but you're still left in this period, this kind of mode of uncertainty, trying to figure out, is my prospect actually going to buy? I am going to give you 2 tools that are going to help you do 2 very specific things that is going to allow you to understand, is my prospect going to buy? And if so, when? Number 1, the needs categorization. We call this framework issues, challenges, and opportunities, or for short, ICO. The second tool, the B2B buyer journey framework. All right, we're trying to understand what's that critical event, what's that thing that happens in the organization that is telling them now's the right time. These 2 tools are the things that you're going to be able to take and use every single day to look at your opportunities in your pipeline and figure out what the hell is going on. How do I know if my prospect is actually going to buy from me? And if they are going to buy from me, when are they going to buy from me? Now, that's a question that has definitely been on your mind if you are in B2B sales. Now, in B2B sales, our job is simple. Whether we're in sales, account management, or even customer success, our job is to make the company money. And in turn, we make money. Now, the thing is, you could be working really hard on an opportunity, but you're still left in this period, this kind of mode of uncertainty, trying to figure out, is my prospect actually going to buy? And the thing with that is it's really frustrating because not only are you forecasting in your head, you're forecasting on a system, you're hoping that you make some money and you've probably spent the commission already, at least in your head. And now you're still left in the situation of, yeah, but are they going to buy? And the worst thing is the small whisper in your ear that's making you think, is this even a real opportunity? Now, in this video, I'm going to give you 2 tools that are going to allow you to do 2 very specific things. Number 1, it's going to help you to understand, how do I know if my prospect is actually going to buy? And 2, it's going to help you understand what is the time frame that that prospect is likely to buy, and are they going to buy in the time frame that matters to me? Now, before we dive in, if this is the first time that I'm appearing in your feed, my name is Hannah Ajikawa. I am the CEO and founder of Revenue Funnel. Now, Revenue Funnel is a go-to-market consulting firm that helps B2B organizations to identify and also solve these structural issues that block growth. Over here, I'm completely obsessed with the B2B buyer, and in this channel, I help to share information that allows you to understand how you can create value so you yourself can make money for your company, but also make money for yourself. Yes, money, it's okay. Now, I've been in B2B sales and go-to-market for over 17 years now, and I've seen everything. But what I find is I like to share information that is rarely taught, but once you see it, it's actually really important. Now, let's dive in. The 2 tools. Number 1 is something that I call the needs categorization. So needs categorization framework. You're going to learn on this channel that there's a lot of frameworks. The second tool is the B2B buyer journey framework. These 2 tools are the things that you're going to be able to take and use every single day to look at your opportunities in your pipeline and figure out what the hell is going on and what can I tell senior leadership so I don't get myself in trouble. And also, I don't spend commission before I earn it. Before I write some stuff on a board, here's the thing to understand. When a prospect comes to you in a meeting, in a conversation, as a lead, whatever it is, they have something that's happening inside their organization that drives a need, an awareness of a need that they actually want to think about solving. It's not confirmed yet, but they want to think about solving it. And what we can do is we can figure out what type of need do they have to help establish, is this really an opportunity that is worth solving? And also inside a time frame that matters to me. So we call this framework ICO, or issues, challenges, and opportunities. And what this allows you to do is it works out which bucket a prospect's need is actually falling into. So let's just go through these in a little bit of detail. The first part, I, stands for issues. Now, issues are the type of need that is inside the organization where something is fundamentally broken or not working, and it's actually stopping a company from working towards and taking action towards a desired outcome. Company growth, making more money, more market share, whatever it is. And the best way to kind of visualize this is imagine someone is hurt and they are running into an accident, an emergency, and they're bleeding out everywhere, and they're like, we need help, I need help, get me to the surgery, get a doctor. And the doctor's like, oh my God, we gotta fix this now, and puts them on a trolley trolley, dolly, bed thing and rushes them into surgery. You know that you've watched enough shows where that happens. Now, in that situation, there was no time. Something has to happen. And the key thing to realize to make something an issue is it's no longer sustainable. It's not sustainable beyond a very, very tight time frame, and they have to take action. So when we think about issue as a need, it's something that is broken, okay? If I break my leg, hope that doesn't happen, I cannot run, period. Have to fix it immediately in order for me to run, okay? So it's something that is broken inside the organization and they cannot move forward without fixing it. Sometimes that breaking is we have to renew tomorrow, or I have budget that I have to spend in the last month. I love those because it's like, this is an issue where if they don't spend it, they're not gonna get the money back, but that's another conversation, all right? So that's an issue. The next thing is a challenge. A challenge is a little bit different. A challenge is when a company is experiencing obstacles or hurdles that slow down the progress towards a desired outcome. There's things that are creating obstacles inside the organization, how they're working, their processes, their systems, people, whatever it is, and it means they can't get things done in the way that they would like to. Now, the challenge with this is that companies often live with these. They exist as latent issues. Now, a latent issue is something that sits beneath the surface and it exists and it causes obstacles or hurdles, but it's not so detrimental to the organization right now that they have to fix it. So what they end up doing is they develop workarounds. As an example, if I need to drive a certain route in order to get to work and then the road is blocked, it's frustrating in the moment, but then it's like, oh, just go around the back, okay? You create a workaround. However, what happens over time is those workarounds become unsustainable. So what we're trying to understand in the challenge is how sustainable is this obstacle or hurdle? How long have they been living with it? Because that's going to give you an indication as to how urgent the need is. So a challenge is an obstacle or a hurdle. And there are so many examples of this, and you're probably listening to this like, oh my gosh, that's so true. That prospect that I spoke to was experiencing this. Now, the last one is an opportunity. An opportunity is slightly different. This is where a company is looking at which opportunity they can grab to get like a strategic advantage, or maybe get this kind of real specific growth objective. Now, the thing with opportunities is the best way to explain this is imagine a company being approached by a salesperson in 2024, or even a customer success person who now has new tools to sell. They were approached in 2024 to take on AI. You should be integrating AI into your workflows, your processes, your systems, your people, everything is AI. And they were like, we ain't gonna do that yet. We know that nobody's doing that right now. AI is not important. It's just an opportunity right now. We have other priorities. We have more urgent issues and things to deal with in our organization. And you're like, all right, I'll step back. A real salesperson would never sell back. Anyways, what now happens is 2026 comes, and this opportunity that was available in 2024 is no longer an opportunity. This has become a challenge. The company's been fighting internally to figure out, oh my gosh, how do we take advantage of AI? We've left it too long. Our competitors are coming in. They're taking over. Everybody's using AI. In the RFPs that we have, in the prospects, conversations, they're asking us, how do you use AI? And we don't use AI. Oh my God. So this opportunity then becomes an issue. So opportunity is like a strategic jump. Let's just call it a strategic grab. What happens is these needs exist on a spectrum. And this is why it's so important that we understand them. And you'll find that every single opportunity you have can fall into one of these categories. Firstly, let's look at the spectrum. The spectrum goes across time, okay? And I'm simple. Time, long, which means long time. Time, short, means short time. Now, if we look, I'm an ENTJ, by the way, which means processes and boxes. That's how I see life. Now, if we look at what we discussed with the needs categorization, it's all about sustainability and how urgent something is. Issues, most urgent, must be dealt with in the shortest time frame. Challenge, learn to live with. Probably going to become a problem, depending on what it is, between a year and it could be 10 years. Companies will sustain, actually 10 years is long. Let's just say 3 years, okay? An opportunity can be left forever. Think about it. Most companies today can exist without AI. They can exist without AI. The thing is, do they want to? Because if anyone else does it, then they have to. They need to catch up. So opportunities, when you're approaching an organization and say, wouldn't you love if your emails were sent and as they sent, it did this special special thing where you could check and ping the inbox. And they're like, I mean, it would sound great, but we're just happy to send normal emails. We're good, right? But then you're like, over time, did you know that Google have now inserted additional blockers and checks? So if you are sending bulk email and you are not doing this particular thing, then you are actually going to end up in a spam box. And then that starts to diminish your domain health. And then after that period of time, it only takes 6 months before you're shut down. Maybe, hey, Sandra, hey, Mike, let's get together and figure this out. Have you seen how an opportunity can turn into a challenge and then an issue very quickly with time? People need to feel the pain. The opportunities doesn't feel like pain yet. Challenges are frustration. This is pain. This is, I might get fired if I don't sort it out, okay? So that's how we start to categorize needs. That is the first thing that we use that helps us understand, are they actually gonna buy? Because if they don't have a need that is kind of in this category and you're thinking about a time frame that's like 6 months or 3 months, this is where we want them to fall into. If you have a pipeline, go into your CRM or your spreadsheet, look at your opportunities right now. I know opportunity isn't the best word, but look at your opportunities right now. Where do they fall? Because if they all fall in this bracket, I mean, I'm sorry to say to you, but you need to go out and prospect. If they fall in a challenge bucket, well done, because most needs fall into challenges. People learn to live with them for a very, very long time. They create workarounds and the workarounds feel great. However, with these, there's a catch, and I'm going to quickly tell you about that. It's a secret little hack. But also issues, okay? So with issues, if they're fundamentally broken, you have to deal with it now. And that is the pipeline that we want in our CRM system. And if you have a pipeline full of those opportunities, I like steak. I would love to be taken out for dinner, maybe a drink or two. A mocktail right now though, okay? All right, so that's the first framework. The next framework is what we called the B2B buyer journey framework, all right? You think like your writing's really neat and then you do something like this and you realize it's not actually that neat. That's kind of me. All right, B2B buyer journey. I absolutely love this because what we're trying to anticipate here is we understand their need, we're figuring out that it's quite urgent or it's a challenge, and that makes us feel good because we're like, we know that there's some urgency behind this. However, the next thing is, okay, so how much have they done so far? What have they done to help me figure out that they're actually really serious about this? And that's where we try to understand where they are in their own decision-making journey so that we can join them and then help them get to that end result, which is closed won, commission check, and obviously value for them. So I like to look at this again on a bit of a spectrum. And what we have here is I'm going to put number 5. That is a 5. I'm going to put 1 and I'm going to put 10. This is the B2B buyer journey. This is the distance from I just figured out that we might need to do something to I've signed, sealed, and delivered a contract, and now I'm spending money with you as an organization. So what we're trying to do here is say to a prospect, hey, thank you for helping me understand a bit more about your needs. It looks like this is something that you really want to take action on. But before we jump in, and just so I can match your urgency, and this match your urgency is a term that Jen Allen always says and she promotes. Go Google her, she's incredible. I want to match your urgency. So just help me understand. If I was to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in how far you are in understanding your own internal needs around this thing that we've been talking about? How much work's been done so far? 2 being really early days. This is maybe your second meeting with a vendor or partner and you're just trying to learn more about what's happening in your own organization. Or would you say you're at a 7? So you've now shortlisted some vendors, some partners, you've had demos, you've really got your requirements down, you've got a business case and you're ready to rock and roll. I would say I'm a 6. Everybody says they're past a 5, okay? So let's just say they say 6. So we have identified that they're at a 6 and we're like, great. Now guess what you have to do? What do you have to do? You don't know, I'll tell you. You now need to tell them what 6 means because we want them to validate, and we want to go from an ambiguous situation and something that is like, I'm not too sure, to an objective one. Okay, so from subjectivity to objectivity. So what we're going to say is for a 6, okay, cool. So you've got a team together internally. So I'm guessing you've had quite a few meetings about this and started to really quantify what action looks like and also what no action looks like. And you've probably got a really trimmed down requirements document. Yeah, and they're like, oh no, we haven't got that. We got some requirements, but we haven't like aligned internally on budget or anything like that. I'm not going to be your hot prospect. You'll hear something like that. So say, okay, cool. But the fact that you've got a requirements document, I would say you're at maybe a 3 or 4, which means that you're just kind of figuring stuff out still. And I'm hoping I can help you in getting more detail around that challenge that you explained. And they'll be like, yeah, actually, yeah, we are at about a 3. I've never had anybody ask me that before. Oh my gosh, this feels great. I've never really thought about it that way. That's a really good question. Now you've got me thinking. This is the kind of responses you're going to get from them. And also, they're going to expand on that. They're going to tell you more because guess what? You only have to tell part of a story for someone to know that you're listening and they will continue. Okay? So now that we've got that, we can connect the two things. So now we're saying we are early on in our journey, and let's just say they have a challenge, and we have a challenge. What are we trying to figure out now? We've got a challenge, and we know that a challenge is an obstacle or hurdle. We know that companies live with that for a very long time. We also know that they create workarounds around the challenge because they know that it's just something they have to live with. However, challenges create issues over time. Remember, there's a spectrum and everything can create issues if you look at it. So now, with this challenge, we're trying to understand how sustainable is it? So we need to ask some questions around this. And this is how we connect the dots. So I'm just going to give you some high-level information as to things that you can do when you find out this information. So now that you've got a challenge and we know it's an obstacle or a hurdle, your job is to understand how sustainable is that? Because guess what? We're trying to figure out how long have you lived with this problem and what have you done so far? Because if they've lived with it for 2 years, why wouldn't you just live with it for another year? We're trying to understand what's that critical event, what's that thing that happens in the organization that is telling them now's the right time. Because if they haven't thought about that, we want them to think about that before they start to waste our time, and then we definitely can answer the question, how do I know they're going to buy from me? We don't, and they're not, right? So we're trying to figure out what have you done so far, and also how sustainable is it? Because there's certain things that we can do and questions that we can ask that can help make this more of an issue. Let me give you an example. With challenges, they manifest themselves into workarounds. Of course, a workaround is something else that you can do where you can just put elastic band on it for now until, of course, you get the time, the space, it becomes priority to actually fix it. However, workarounds are not often documented. They're also sticky tape and they're also in people's minds. So now we want to plant some doubts in the prospect's mind because, and this is not in a manipulative way, it's just stating fact. So you've got a team and they've made a workaround. So tell me a bit more about that. And also think about the risk that is posed if that person that leaves takes that tribal knowledge with them. Workarounds are typically things that people do in their head. They know that, every time I go to do this process in the system, it doesn't work, so we actually do it this way. It's in their head, and a few teammates may know. Imagine any of those teammates shift responsibility or leave. Now you've got this process that exists in your system, and then a new person goes to do it, and it's broken. And they're like, how did we do this before? And then that broken thing gets escalated to the leader, who could be the person that you're speaking to on the call, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, we were doing that? That's against policy. That breaks the terms and conditions of our customers. That is not privacy compliant. All of these things happen. So we really want to understand how sustainable it is, what the workaround is, where that workaround knowledge sits to help plant some doubts in their mind so that they figure out, how can I take action? Help me on this journey. When you do things like this, these are the things that allow you to answer the question, how do I know if my customer is going to buy from me or my prospect? And if so, when? Because now that we understand that they have a challenge that may not be sustainable and it's creating obstacles in their organization that has workarounds. And now that we know that they're really early on in the journey, if you have an average sales cycle of 3 months and they say, we really want to do something in the next 2 weeks, you're like, absolutely impossible. You ain't setting me up, homie. I'm going to make sure that I prepare myself for the fact that you have not even aligned with your team internally to even know that they're definitely going to do this because you've lived with it for 2 years. Why would you do something now? So when we're thinking about that question, how do I know if my prospect is going to buy and are they going to buy in a time frame that matters to me? We need to understand what kind of need they have, because even though they tell us their stuff, life gets involved, priorities get in the way, and all of these things drop. However, we can add certainty to our own forecasting and our own internal efforts and priorities on where we put our attention on deals by recognizing that actually they have a need that's worth solving right now, and they also are taking action in a way that we understand to move towards that desired outcome. And they are 30% of the way there. All right. So that is the 2 tools. That is how you can figure out if someone's going to buy from you and also how fast they're going to buy from you. Until next time, see you later.